Scorpio, pack your bags. Not because you're running away, but because something in your life is finally making room for you. In the next few days, the atmosphere around you shifts in a way that feels almost unfamiliar, like walking into a room you used to dream about and realizing the door is already open. This week carries a different kind of energy, quiet, precise, and strangely comforting, like the universe isn't yelling at you to try harder anymore, but gently moving pieces behind the curtain so you can breathe again. If you've been whispering prayers into your pillow, doing your best while your heart felt heavy, or holding your life together with invisible hands no one ever thanks, this message found you on purpose. Stay with me to the end, Scorpio, because what I'm about to share isn't about hype, it's about timing, readiness, and the moment when struggle begins to loosen its grip. Welcome, Scorpio, to a space that goes beyond surface predictions. This is a sanctuary for the ones who don't just want signs, they want meaning. The ones who don't just want money, they want peace with money. The ones who don't just want love, they want love that doesn't cost their soul. And you, Scorpio, you are built for transformation. You've lived through chapters that would have cracked other people wide open, but you didn't collapse. You recalibrated. You went quiet. You got wiser. You learned how to read silence like a language. You learned how to smile while carrying storms behind your ribs. But here's the twist. The energy moving through this week isn't asking you to survive again. It's asking you to receive. And for someone who has trained themselves to be strong, receiving can feel like standing in bright light after years in a dim room, beautiful, and almost too much at first. So let's talk about what unexpected wealth really means in a Scorpio season of healing. It doesn't always arrive like a movie scene with confetti and thunder. Sometimes it arrives like a message you almost ignore. A door you didn't think would open again. A delay that suddenly dissolves. A person who changes their tone. A situation that flips from no to yes without drama, just with inevitability. This is the kind of week where pressure starts to lift in practical ways. Not because you forced it, but because something higher than your fear is rearranging your path. You may notice small but clear signs, opportunities aligning faster than usual, money conversations becoming easier, unexpected support showing up, or an internal shift where you stop bracing for impact and start preparing for improvement. In astrology, Scorpio is tied to the unseen inheritance, shared resources, hidden blessings, debts repaid, power claimed, and the kind of wealth that comes from rebirth. And this week, the theme isn't just more money. It's cleaner money. Money that doesn't come with humiliation. Money that doesn't require you to betray yourself. Money that meets you where you are and strengthens you instead of draining you. This is important, Scorpio, because your spirit is allergic to empty wins. You can smell fake luck from miles away. You don't want a shiny blessing that rots your peace. You want something real, something that helps you build, stabilize, and finally exhale. And that's why this week feels like packing your bags. You're preparing to step out of a heavy season, not by pretending it never happened, but by honoring what it taught you and choosing to stop living there. Now listen carefully, because this part is where the shift becomes personal. The universe doesn't just send blessings, it sends invitations. And invitations require your response. You may have spent months, maybe longer, holding everything inside, telling yourself, I'll rest when it gets better. I'll celebrate when it's safe. I'll soften when life stops demanding so much. But Scorpio, life doesn't always stop demanding. Sometimes you have to soften anyway. You have to open anyway. Because openness is not the reward at the end of the journey, it's the bridge that gets you across. This week's energy rewards the Scorpio who decides, even quietly, I am done living like my survival story is the only story I get. If you've been carrying scarcity in your body, you'll understand what I mean. Scarcity isn't just numbers. It's the way you breathe when your phone buzzes. It's the tension in your jaw when you check an account. It's the way you shrink a dream mid-sentence because You're afraid the universe will laugh at you. It's the way you say "I'm fine" while your nervous system is doing math at midnight. But this week offers a reset, not because your life becomes perfect, but because your inner posture changes. You stop gripping. You stop bracing. You stop assuming something will go wrong the moment something goes right. That alone is wealth, Scorpio, because the mind that expects goodness begins to notice goodness faster. And the heart that feels safe begins to attract support more naturally. Let's bring tarot into this, because tarot doesn't just predict, it mirrors. For this Pack Your Bags theme, the first archetype I see for you is the Six of Swords energy, moving away from turbulence toward calmer water, not because you're weak, but because you're wise. You've learned that not every battle is sacred. Not every struggle is proof you're growing. Sometimes struggle is just a sign you've outgrown the environment you're in. The Six of Swords is a transition card: quiet progress, private healing, leaving behind mental noise. It says you don't need to announce your next chapter. You just need to enter it. It also suggests movement around money, leaving behind an old system, an old arrangement, an old pattern of spending, fearing, or waiting. This is the kind of week where you start making decisions that your future self will thank you for without even realizing you've crossed a line into a new identity. The second archetype that often pairs with this kind of week is the Ace of Pentacles, not as a jackpot fantasy, but as a real seed, a tangible opening, an offer, an idea that can be monetized, a small door that leads to a bigger hallway. The Ace of Pentacles rarely arrives screaming. It arrives quietly and asks, "Will you take this seriously?" Scorpio, the universe can hand you a seed, but it can't force you to plant it. And planting looks like action. Sending the email, taking the call, applying, asking, negotiating, updating your resume, posting your work, creating the page, starting the plan, saying yes to help, saying no to leaks. Because wealth doesn't just come through miracles, it comes through containers. And your container this week is your willingness to treat yourself like someone worth investing in. Then there's a third energy, one that feels deeply Scorpio: justice. Not the cold kind, the cleansing kind. Justice shows up when karmic imbalances begin to correct, when something unfair starts to tilt back into alignment, when a person who underestimated you changes their stance, when a situation that dragged too long finally concludes, when you receive what you were owed, sometimes financially, sometimes emotionally, sometimes spiritually. Justice isn't about revenge. It's about restoration. And Scorpio, restoration is what your soul has been begging for. Not just more, but right. Right timing, right people, right exchanges, right outcomes. And if this resonates, it may explain why this week feels like relief before you even see the full result, because your spirit can sense the correction happening underneath the surface. Now, let's make this week practical, because Scorpio magic isn't airy, it's grounded. Pack your bags can be a literal sign for some of you. Travel, movement, a change in environment, a sudden need to relocate or reset your space. But for many Scorpios, packing your bags is symbolic. Cleaning out what's been heavy, unsubscribing from fear, leaving emotional debt behind, cutting energetic cords to people who drain you, closing old tabs in your mind. And here's how you do that in a way that supports wealth instead of just mood. First, choose one leak to seal this week. One place where money or energy disappears. It could be an unnecessary subscription, impulse spending, a habit that numbs you, or a relationship that constantly triggers you into stress. Scorpio, stress is expensive, not just emotionally, biologically. It makes you reactive. It makes you overthink. It makes you miss openings because you're scanning for danger. Sealing one leak tells the universe, I am ready to hold what comes. Second, create one receiving ritual that feels natural, not performative. No complicated ceremonies unless you love them. Make it simple. 5 minutes in the morning with your hand on your chest. One honest sentence in your journal. Today I allow good news. A glass of water with a quiet intention. I choose flow. A short walk where you imagine your future self walking beside you, calm and provided for. The point isn't superstition. The point is regulation. You're teaching your nervous system that receiving is safe. And when your body believes it's safe, you become less likely to sabotage what arrives. Third, speak your yes out loud gently, but clearly. Scorpio energy is powerful, but it can get stuck in silence. And sometimes silence becomes a prison disguised as strength. So say it, whisper it, write it, comment it. I am ready to receive unexpected support. I am open to clean wealth. I release the heavy season, not because words magically print money, but because words shape identity. And identity shapes behavior, and behavior shapes outcomes. That's the chain reaction. Now, I want to address something tender. Some of you have been in a heavy season so long that a blessing can feel suspicious, like your spirit flinches when something good begins to form. You might think, what's the catch? Or you might downplay the win or delay the action, or tell yourself you'll celebrate later. But Scorpio, later is a trick your fear uses to keep you small. This week asked for a new response, gratitude without paranoia, joy without scanning for punishment, hope without self-embarrassment. You don't have to be naive. You just have to stop letting pain be the manager of your future. And yes, this can show up through people. Sometimes unexpected wealth arrives through a surprising alliance. Someone offers a lead, a connection, a collaboration, a referral, a job opportunity, or a resource you didn't know you had access to. Sometimes it's someone returning with a different energy, more respectful, more honest, more supportive. Sometimes it's an institution finally processing what was delayed. Sometimes it's a debt repaid. Sometimes it's an approval. Sometimes it's a solution that costs less than you feared. The universe is creative like that. It doesn't always deliver the way your anxiety imagined it would. It delivers the way your soul can actually hold. So, here's the emotional core of this message. You are not being rescued this week. You are being repositioned. Rescued implies you are powerless. Repositioned implies you are ready. And Scorpio, you are ready. You've learned discernment. You've learned how to survive endings. Now you're learning how to live beginnings. And beginnings require softness. Beginnings require space. Beginnings require a willingness to be seen not just in your pain, but in your potential. If you want a visual anchor for this week, imagine this. You're standing at the border between two landscapes. Behind you is the heavy season gray skies, tight breathing, constant pushing. In front of you is not a fantasy paradise. It's simply lighter. The air is clearer. The road is visible. The ground doesn't wobble as much beneath your feet. You can still be Scorpio. They're deep, powerful, discerning, but you're no longer carrying everything alone. That's the shift. It's not life becomes perfect. It's life becomes workable. And workable is sacred when you've been drowning. Now let's do the part that makes this video feel alive to the algorithm and the soul, participation. Scorpio, if you feel this message tugging your chest even slightly, type this in the comments. I released a heavy season. I receive clean wealth. And if you want to take it deeper, add one word describing what you're releasing: fear, debt, shame, exhaustion, betrayal, delay, loneliness. When you name it, you loosen its grip. And when many Scorpios name it together, you create a field of shared intention. Energy moves in community faster than it moves in isolation. As the week continues, pay attention to soft signs. Not dramatic supernatural fireworks, soft signs. Repeated words. Repeated numbers. A song lyric that lands too perfectly. A chance encounter. An idea that won't leave you alone. A calm urge to take action. Scorpio intuition doesn't always shout. It presses. It nudges. It repeats. And the universe often speaks through repetition when it's trying to guide a stubbornly strong soul like you. Don't overthink every sign into paralysis. Use signs as encouragement to do what you already know you should do. Prepare, respond, act, rest, trust. And now, Scorpio, here's the part I promised, the gentle protection for your channel, woven into the vibe like a candle flame that doesn't interrupt the darkness, but makes it safer. Let this be remembered as it should be, not a guarantee, not a commandment, not a substitute for real-world advice, but a sacred reflection, one possible timeline among many, a story whispered into the universe for those who are meant to hear it. If it resonates, take what strengthens you, hold what feels true, and let the rest drift away like cloud-soft thoughts on a windy day. Your life is still yours to choose, your decisions still matter, and any financial or personal step is best taken with wisdom, discernment, and grounded support when you need it, because spirituality and practicality were never meant to be enemies, they are meant to hold hands. So if you've made it to this moment, Scorpio, let me speak to the deeper truth. You didn't come here for a prediction. You came here for permission. Permission to hope again without shame. Permission to want more without apologizing. Permission to step into a better chapter without needing the old chapter to approve. And that's why this week matters. Because when you decide to move like someone who is supported, you become supported faster. When you decide to speak to yourself like someone who is worthy, you start making choices that reflect worth. When you decide to pack your bags emotionally, spiritually, practically, you signal to life that you are done living in survival mode. Your heavy season has been teaching you things, yes. It's sharpened you. It's humbled you. It's clarified what you will never tolerate again. But Scorpio, you do not have to keep proving your strength through suffering. You've already proven it. Now it's time to prove your wisdom through receiving. If unexpected wealth arrives this week as an opening, take it seriously. If it arrives as support, accept it. If it arrives as peace, protect it. If it arrives as a nudge to act, follow it. You don't need to sprint. You just need to move. And when the fear whispers, what if it falls apart? Answer softly, maybe. But what if it finally comes together? Because the Scorpio who asks that question without cynicism, without armor, is the Scorpio who begins a new season with clean hands and a steady heart. Before you go, Scorpio, leave a comment. I released a heavy season. I receive clean wealth. Like the video if you felt seen, subscribe if you want to stay close to these messages, and share it with someone who's been carrying silent battles. Sometimes the miracle isn't only what happens to you, sometimes it's the light you pass to another soul at the exact moment they were about to give up. And Scorpio, you of all people know this. The universe doesn't waste pain. It transforms it. This is your week to travel lighter. This is your week to breathe deeper. This is your week to pack your bags and step toward the life that has been trying quietly, faithfully to reach you.